Part 63. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 623. Following Li Xiaoqi, Yilin came to the target. Most of the work of setting up the assembly line was hard work. Li Xiaoqi arranged for men to work and female apostles to take care of other chores. For example, walking the dog, cooking, taking care of the Wangtiandi ice sculptures on both sides of the road where they live, etc. Are you Li Shizhen? Yilin smiled kindly and looked at the coquettish girl in front of the dormitory door. The girl has delicate features and a beauty mark at the corner of her mouth. She is not particularly stunning, but there is a quiet and astringent temperament between her eyebrows, which makes people feel very comfortable. If you really want to say it, the woman in front of you seems to be more suitable for the name Jingjing than Su Jingjing. She has an ordinary name and looks. If Li Xiaoqi hadn't sent the information to Yilin, Yilin might not have noticed this girl at a glance in the final film Shen Si Jun. But calling her a girl seems a bit excessive. Because according to real-world time calculation, Li Shizhen is only 23 years old, nearly 4 years older than Yiren. If we really wanted to go by seniority, Yilin would have to call Li Shizhen's sister. But women are such strange animals. If she is worthy of her sister, she will never be willing to be called aunt. If she is worthy of her sister, she will not be happy to be called sister. Yes, please come in, President. Under Li Kai's arrangement, Li Shizhen came to the Snow Mountain Station to participate in land reclamation for more than a month. But it was the first time to face Yilin at such a close distance, so he seemed a little nervous. Li Xiaoqi didn't say hello in advance before looking for her, but Li Shizhen was so frightened that she thought she had committed something. As a bridge of communication between Yilin and Zhen's army, Li Xiaoqi certainly knew Li Shizhen's character, so he laughed and patted Li Shizhen on the shoulder, comforting him, "Don't be afraid, our president is approachable and approachable. I have something to ask you for you help." After hearing what Li Xiaoqi said, the tension on Li Shizhen's face relaxed a little. Li Shizhen invited the two of them into her room. What surprised Yilin was that there were many potted plants placed in the room. There are many strange plants growing on the pots. Flowers with petals of 4 colors, leaves dripping with dark green juice, and twisting and rotating vines. The air in the room smelled of mixed flowers and plant juices. It can't be said to be very fragrant, but it can't be said to smell very good either. Looking at the strange plants all over the house, combined with Li Xiaoqi's information, Yilin suddenly understood what Li Shizhen meant by being good at agriculture. "You like plants?" "Yes." Li Shizhen lowered her head. "I have liked planting various flowers and plants since I was a child. To be honest with the president, before being summoned by the tower, I dreamed of becoming a botanist. Unfortunately." As she said that, Li Shizhen smiled bitterly. Shaking her head, anyone could tell what the regret behind her meant. Although becoming an apostle gave each apostle extraordinary abilities, it also ruined everyone's normal life. "Can you show it to me?" Yilin was curious. Under Li Xiaoqi's encouraging gaze, Li Shizhen plucked up the courage to walk to one of the potted seedlings and stretched out her hands. Li Shizhen's palms were illuminated by a layer of hazy white light, and then a fine mist of water sprayed out between the two palms. Under the watering of the water mist, the seedling seemed to come alive, and its tender green leaf buds with a hint of white were trembling. Yilin felt like a wonderful person who was being massaged very comfortably, stretching her waist and flexing her toes happily, shaking her head non-stop. "It's interesting." Yilin smiled. Li Shizhen's face turned red after being praised by Yilin, and she whispered, "I can irrigate the seedlings to make them grow faster." She then touched the leaves of the seedlings with her fingertips. "I can feel the mood of the plants. I know how can I make them happier. I can prune their diseased branches and let them grow as I want. I can graft different plants and give them different properties." Hearing this, Yilin looked at Li Xiaoqi in surprise. "Did you know that there is such a talent hidden in your Shen's army?" Li Xiaoqi glared. I know a little bit. It's weird that I know. He only knew that there was a little girl in the Shen's army who liked to mess with plants. She had a weird temper and was not very gregarious. But because her father was a veteran of the Li family, Li Shichen had a deep affection for the Li family since she was a child. After becoming an apostle in a daze, she was quickly recruited into the Shen's army and is still alive today. Have you ever killed anyone? Yulin made eye contact with Li Xiaoqi for a moment, then looked at Li Shichen and asked. Li Shichen looked surprised at first. She didn't expect Yulin to suddenly ask such a weird question. But after a moment of silence, Li Shichen nodded, killed. Heh, I'm suddenly curious about how you survived the trials before, but I won't ask any more questions. Yulin smiled and stopped delving into the secrets of Li Shichen's abilities. In the Apocalypse Guild, Yulin only requires everyone to tell the direction of their abilities, but there is no mandatory requirement. Everyone tells the core secrets of their abilities. That is unrealistic and unpopular. Yulin turned her palm over, and a few more black seeds appeared in her palm. Let's see, can we plant it? Seeing that Yulin didn't ask further about the secret of her ability, Li Shichen suddenly felt a little more favorable to this strange and mysterious president. Don't get me wrong, it's just a serious good impression. Taking the seeds from Yulin's hand, Li Shichen put the seeds in her palm and rubbed them carefully, closed her eyes and felt it for a moment, then said with a dumb expression. They seem to be dead. Dead, Yulin frowned. No, Li Shichen waved her hand hurriedly, don't worry, President, I can give it a try. In fact, the vitality of seeds is much stronger than we humans imagine. Many seeds can even survive the cold winter, dryness, and spring. Once it arrives, the water nourishes it and it grows again. Huh, is this why you like plants? Although Yulin didn't say it clearly, Li Shichen had already thought of the reason why Yulin came to her specifically. Does the president want me to raise them? Try it. Li Shichen held a basin and followed Yulin to a giant square. Li Xiaoqi was waiting in front of the cube. Yulin put his palm on the surface of the cube, ripples flashed across it, and Yulin walked in with Li Shichen. This will be the greenhouse from now on, Yulin said with a smile. It is specially used to cultivate these seeds. I have set up the corresponding permissions, and you can set the temperature and humidity here at will. Oh, yes, already. Yulin snapped his fingers, and a delicate electronic panel appeared out of thin air on the pure white and smooth wall not far away. Yulin continued, other than you, no one else can enter or leave this room at the moment. Your mission is try your best to feed these dead seeds. Li Shichen was flattered. She never expected that Yulin would set aside a greenhouse specifically for these seeds and let her take care of it. President, Li Shichen gritted her teeth and looked at the president eagerly. Can my own big treasure be moved here to be planted? Big baby? What big baby? Yulin was slightly stunned, but did not show much confusion on her face. She waved her hands, looking calm and generous. I don't care about the rest. You are responsible for planting these seeds. Li Shichen was overjoyed. Finally, she couldn't help but ask, President, may I know what these seeds are? Yulin turned around and left, smiling as he walked. It's just an ordinary apple seed, mainly because it tastes really good and I want to eat a few more. A few days later, Li Shichen came to report to Yulin. The small apple seeds have been successfully planted. She specially selected the rare grade soil that she treasured. But the strange thing is that it stands to reason that ordinary seeds should be able to sprout the next day when irrigated by her water spraying skills. But there was no movement from those little apples. She was also worried that Yulin wanted to eat an apple, so she hurriedly found it. Li Shichen even asked cautiously, President, I have other varieties of apples here, would you like? She really thought Yulin was greedy for the apple flavor. In the end, Yilin could only explain in a dumbfounded way that she was not that greedy just yet and asked Li Shijian to just let it happen and not be so anxious. In any case, after eating the remaining seeds of the forbidden fruit of wisdom, Yilin was not sure whether he could plant a new piece of forbidden fruit of wisdom. In fact, the success rate is not high, otherwise if this kind of lock-breaking props spread, the world would really be in chaos. There's no harm in giving it a try. Li Shijian's skills are also worth investing in. Yilin thought of Su Anjing's strengthening direction, which seemed to have a little relationship with plants. Maybe the two of them could become good friends and help each other. In the past few days, Yilin took the time to ask Li Kai to prepare a batch of drinks. After the version was updated and everyone was summoned, part of the world's population disappeared in an instant. The city is empty, and these materials that have not had time to be confiscated are instead hanging in the corners and on the shelves where no one cares. After Li Kai learned about Yilin's needs, he just felt puzzled at the time. But Li Kai was still busy secretly fighting wits with other forces and didn't bother to ask more questions. However, he quickly ordered people to follow Yilin's instructions and prepare some high-quality and medium-quality drinks. So far, the time is already mid to late April. The climate is getting warmer and everything is springing up. Of course, there was still a blizzard on the snowy mountains. Yilin took some time out of her busy schedule and returned to Hading City again. At the same time, this is an old castle located in the wilderness. The mottled city walls have vines winding up. The cracks on the gray stone wall quietly tell the story of wind, frost, and time. This is European territory. No one knows that this is actually the headquarters of the Knights Alliance, the first guild in the Tower of War district server and the second guild in the world. This castle is, on the surface, a crumbling castle. But secretly, it is a guild residence that looks like an old castle. Inside the castle, a dignified-looking blonde girl, with her hair tied in a bun and wearing heavy armor, sat on the throne. My king. Click click click. A knight wrapped in full armor stepped into the castle with heavy steps. We, finally got it? The hair on the blonde girl's forehead trembled, she sat up straight with a stern expression. Did you get it? Yes, the heavily armored knight knelt down on one knee, suppressing his inner excitement. I can't wait to live up to expectations. Finally, we got the team temporary cross-region pass. Hear the words. The blonde girl took a deep breath. Her eyes were slightly red, and she looked like she was about to cry with excitement. But the golden retriever quickly suppressed all emotions. Crash. The blonde girl waved her hand vigorously and said in a resounding tone, "Follow me to the distant east. Swear to the death to take back our Avalon. Take back the glory of our ancestors." Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 624. Yilin accidentally discovered another benefit of parasitic weapons. When resentment was successfully possessed by Gaijiamimi and became Laughing Mask, the E-level possession level had a 5% spiritual attribute bonus. And perhaps because of the symbiotic relationship between Laughing Mask and Yilin, this 5% mental attribute bonus is equivalent to permanent. As long as the dead skin cannot be removed, this 5% mental attribute bonus will always exist. Yilin was naturally in a good mood after using up 5% of her mental attributes for no reason. Destruction and redemption is different. The attribute bonus on the double guns can only be beneficial if Yilin is equipped. In comparison, it is clear at a glance which one is better and which one is worse. Ahem, this is not to say that Xiaohong and Xiaobai are not good enough, but Xiaomei is more convenient. While holding two guns, Yilin's mental attributes increased by a terrifying 20% with the support of equipment, from 13.9 to 16.68. What is the concept of spiritual attributes of 16.68? The big slap technique makes the slaps sound louder, and the big finger technique makes the fingers thicker or not. Yilin doesn't know until she has tried it herself. But the most intuitive manifestation is that his current spiritual energy value can almost be consumed at will. As long as the output is not exploded in a very short period of time, his spiritual energy value will be inexhaustible. Gone are the past encounters where the player became weak after just 2 skills. Ah, it sounds like I still miss it a bit. Teleported in batches, Yulin stepped on the halo and crossed cities one after another, arriving at Hating City again. In fact, it would be faster to reach Hating City by directly using the teleportation array in the station. It's just that the crystal resources are currently stretched thin, and there is not much left. If it wasn't too urgent, Yulin would rather teleport slowly by rubbing bullets than waste precious crystal resources. Yulin knew that Li Kai was very busy. So he came to Hating City again, without notifying anyone, and came alone. Li Kai does have some tricks. When Yulin arrived at the outskirts of Hating City, she couldn't help but marvel. Compared with a week ago, looking from a distance, the scene of Hating City is completely different. Far away, the hundreds of meters of pure white towers stand alone. Even under the scorching sun, they emit a milky white halo, making them look solemn, sacred, and full of style. At the top of the tower, Yulin specially designed several crystals based on the impressions in his memory. They rotated around the top of the tower, shining brightly like the stars, sun, and moon. Of course, the current ones are just for decoration and do not play a corresponding defensive role. It will be difficult to say in the future. The 2 stations belonging to the Apocalypse Guild, the Snow Mountain Shelter and the Great Engineer Tower, are one bright and one dark. One station is developed in the dark, and the other station is used to highlight the strength and power of Apocalypse Guild. From Yulin's point of view, it's not a bad thing if some of them are high profile. The riots in Hating City seem to have been initially calmed down. Without alerting anyone, Yulin flew from high altitude, avoiding the route of the patrol gunship, and arrived at Zhongcheng district. On the main roads in the city, newly recruited city guards are maintaining order from time to time, and the medical system is gradually recovering. Ambulances are running in every corner of the city. Yulin even saw a doctor wearing a white coat and a mask whose face could not be seen clearly, carrying a field first aid kit and jumping between high-rise buildings to save time on the road. From his flexible skills, it can be inferred that the doctor should be an agile apostle with a high level. But no matter what, since the version update, countless people have died in the real world or in trials. Li Kai has not yet calculated the remaining population of Hating City. But the once bustling streets are now deserted. The faces of those who survived were either crazy, sad, confused, or desperate. From this, it is evident. Yulin knows. Only a large-scale disaster would leave such mottled marks on so many people's faces. Hating City is too big and it's very difficult to make it airtight. Yulin easily broke through the defense network of patrols and armed helicopters, reached the high wall, and muttered to herself. Of course, he didn't mean to blame Li Kai. At present, the armed defense outside the station is just a show. Yulin estimated that the S-class station defense level and the camouflage canopy covering the entire tower including the high walls could even withstand repeated bombings from missiles. It is equivalent to a protective shield with a health bar. As long as the protective shield is still there, outsiders without guild authority cannot enter the station at all. Moreover, the guild leader can temporarily use a large number of death points to repair the health bar of the camouflage canopy using the authority of the guild leader. Therefore, Yulin didn't panic at all. But Yulin could tell from the various guild interfaces and functions. This so-called brand new version is really a desperate version. Killing people for money everywhere, and the guild station thing is impossible to play without a lot of DP. This is also the reason why Yulin racks his brains to run businesses and shops in the station and find ways to stimulate members to earn DP for him. Outside the high walls, Yulin found many figures ready to move. There are many people, from unknown forces or guilds, secretly spying on every move in the station. Obviously. A week ago, Yilin used such a high-profile way to make Tiankai Guild's hating city branch the focus of the entire apostle world. While many people were envious and jealous, they also really began to regard the Apocalypse Guild as a focus of attention. If Yilin was the first to found the Apocalypse Guild, there was an element of luck involved. If Apocalypse Guild was the first to establish a guild station, there was also an element of luck. So Apocalypse Guild can lead everyone and have two stations at the same time. Ahem, it seems that it is really Lao Pan's credit. To put it bluntly, it's still luck. Yilin shook her head helplessly. How lucky she was. But no matter what, since having two stations, Apocalypse Guild has really made all guilds feel that they are standing on a dangerous wall and are full of vigilance. This is also the effect Yilin wants. Yo! President. After Yilin stepped into the high wall, she happened to meet Suzayasu's father, Suje. Suje led a group of escorts armed to the teeth and rushed out from the direction of the great engineer tower. Suje saw Yilin, who was not in stealth state, at a glance, and waved happily to Yilin, with an excited smile on his murderous face. Although Yilin looks young. But when he was surrounded by 4 emperors and killed Emperor Zuchong in the battle in the capital, neither Suje nor Li Kai, uncles who were a generation older than Yilin, no longer dared to kill Emperor Zuchong. Yilin came to see it as a junior. At the very least, they have to be equals and have their own talents. Where are you going? Yilin glanced at Suje and the more than 20 guards behind him, thoughtfully. The escort team brought out by Suje looked very well equipped, but in fact more than half of them were apostles summoned by the second generation after the version update. The attributes are not high, and with a set of modern equipment, it barely has a certain combat effectiveness. Suje brought them out not only to bluff people, but also to give the newcomers some experience. After a brief inquiry, Suje bluntly said that they had discovered the stronghold of a group of thugs in Nanjing district and were ready to attack them. Keep alive. Yilin reminded. It's difficult. When Suje heard this, his face turned bitter. Yilin may not know, but Suje has been helping his in-laws quell chaos in Hating City for some time. He knew very well that those thugs had been inspired by something. They were all lunatics, and almost all of their attacks were suicide attacks. It's easy to wipe them all out, but it's not easy to keep anyone alive. Try your best. Yilin smiled and waved her hand, but did not take the initiative to ask for help. With Suje's strength and many years of experience in leading one of the 6 police departments, if he can't even deal with a group of thugs, then all these years have really been in vain. After Yilin left, behind Suje, a newbie in his 30s asked cautiously, "Boss, that young guy just now, is the legendary president?" Haha, Suje clenched his fists. Young guy. You haven't changed your old ideas yet? In this circle, strength is the most important thing. Don't judge people by their appearance, age, or gender. Don't say anything else. A dog next to the president might be able to slap you to death. Hiss. Suje's words made the surrounding people gasp. Stop whining and whining, start walking. Get to work. Suje shouted, and aggressively led a group of newbies out of the high wall. The interior space of the Great Engineer Tower has a total of 200 floors. If it hadn't been for opening up so much space, it wouldn't have cost more than 800,000 DP. Although 98% of the floors are now empty, the DP raised by Li Kai at that time was sufficient anyway. Yilin simply moved it in one step and almost moved the complete Great Engineer Tower of Uranus to this world. I really hope a Deng can see it. Yilin squinted her eyes, raised her head, and looked at the towering Great Engineer Tower. After a moment of nostalgia, she took the elevator with a calm expression and went straight to the 199th floor. The higher the floor, the more noble it is. Yilin reserved the 200th floor for himself, and Li Kai subsequently chose the 199th floor as his office location. Obviously, he seems to be using this method to imply that his status is second only to Yiren. President, you are really generous. Li Kai was lying comfortably on the soft and comfortable sofa, making tea and drinking. When he saw Yilin walking in, he quickly sat up straight and stood up to greet her. There are no outsiders here, and Brother Kai, don't be a stranger either. Yilin floated in without touching her feet. During this time, she became familiar with Li Kai. In private, Yilin shamelessly called Li Kai Brother Kai. If Li Erpang was stationed at the Snow Mountain Refuge and was lucky enough to learn that he was a generation shorter for no reason, he might have to hold Suzayasu in his arms and cry bitterly before complaining. Is the president here for that batch of supplies? Li Kai asked. It's just part of it. I just finished my work over there. Firstly, I want to see what's going on here. Secondly, I want to ask you some questions. Don't dare to take it seriously. Li Kai stepped aside and motioned to Yilin to please sit down. Then he narrowed his eyes and became solemn. The president is not coming this time. In fact, I also have something to do, and I want to find an opportunity in the near future. Tell the president. Huh? Yilin's eyes narrowed when he heard this, and something seemed to be shining in Li Kai's narrowed eyes. President, please look. Li Kai suddenly adopted an office tone, carefully took out a card and handed it to Yilin. The grade of the card is not high, just rare grade. But just because the card was only a rare grade, Yilin's expression instantly became solemn. Temporary cross-region pass for one person. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 625. Yilin's reaction was within Li Kai's expectation. Because there was no special reaction when he saw this prop, he had to wonder if he was with the wrong person. Yilin looked at the card in her hand. The attributes of the props appear before your eyes. Temporary cross-region pass for one person. Grade rare. Effect after use, you will gain temporary permission to enter other regional servers, lasting 7 days. Remaining times, 1/1. Instructions. Click to view details. Where did it come from? After a moment of solemnity, the card rotated randomly on Yilin's fingertips, and Yilin laughed happily. Well. Yilin's initial solemnity was within Li Kai's expectation, but her sudden smile was a bit beyond Li Kai's understanding. What's there to be happy about? After such a thought flashed through his mind, Li Kai didn't ask any more questions and answered Yilin's question honestly, the wishing pool. Sure enough, Yilin smiled and nodded. When she went out to the wishing fountain event before, many people spent money. In the Apostle Circle, many senior people were seriously injured because of this cheating event, and at the same time they also had a lot of money on hand. A lot of weird props came out. Single-player temporary cross-region pass comes from the wishing fountain, which is not surprising. How many do we have on hand right now? Back to the president, 3 of them have appeared so far. Then I'll accept this one first. Yilin looked calm and put away the single-person temporary cross-region pass. As for who drew the props and how much DP will be compensated later, just leave it to Li Kai to deal with it. Of course, Li Kai would not argue with Yilin about the ownership of a rare item. He looked at Yilin in surprise. President, do you want to? Yilin shook his head. It's just for emergencies. I don't have time to run around now. President, aren't you worried? What Li Kai was worried about was the reason why he really mentioned this matter to Yilin. Worry? Yilin smiled even more happily. What should I worry about? Li Kai was stunned when he heard this. Yilin continued. Apocalypse Guild, because of my existence, among the top 10 guilds, at least 4 guilds want to cause trouble for us. The reason why they don't come now is that they either don't have time, they don't dare, Or it's just not worth it? But what is supposed to come will come sooner or later. Li Kai nodded. He naturally knew that the current situation of Tiankai Guild was not as good as it seemed on the surface. So, since Apocalypse Guild has many enemies, is there any difference between external enemies and internal enemies? It seems, not. Li Kai felt that what Yilin said made sense. That's fine. Yilin laughed and said, since there is no difference, enemies from outside can still drop boxes when they are killed, so why not? Ah, this? Li Kai finally understood the reason why Yilin smiled so happily. It's terrifying to think about it. Only then did he understand that the president was not afraid of trouble at all, and was even a little eager for trouble to come to his door. Under Yilin's guidance, Li Kai also figured it out. In fact, neither Li Kai nor Yilin are stupid. Even the threaded fighter version of the mace. However, there are fundamental differences between the two in their way of thinking. Next, after Li Kai reported the matter, he did not continue to struggle. President Yilin is not in a hurry. What is he anxious about? Taking a step back, this hating city station has really experienced drastic changes, and Yilin also has the means to transfer everyone to the Snow Mountain station in an instant. As long as people have a way out, they won't be so panicked. Li Kai also mentioned Yilin's plan to engage in business at the Snow Mountain station. He quickly figured out that this was Yilin's plan to raise DP to build a guild. Simply collecting taxes from everyone may not cause problems in the short term, but in the long run, resentment will inevitably arise. No one wants to have part of their hard-earned rewards in the trial be exploited by the guild for no reason. But doing business is different. It is human nature to consume Krypton gold. In the ancient history of mankind, the first commercial activities started with barter, and it can develop to the current prosperity. In Li Kai's view, the method of renting shops and developing business within the premises can, on the one hand, quickly accumulate funds for the guild, and on the other hand, it can circulate useless props or equipment among the apostles. From another level, the circulated equipment and props go into the hands of the right people, which can quickly increase the overall strength of the Apocalypse Guild. Next, Yilin spent some time asking Li Kai for some management experience. Li Kai is worthy of being a former Z5 council member and the mayor of an international metropolis, with a unique understanding of management. The two discussed it for about 10 minutes, and Yilin came to the optimal conclusion regarding the store's commission ratio and other details. The two of them drank the black tea collected by Li Kai. It was a rare visit from Yilin. After Li Kai talked about the details of the commercialization of the Snow Mountain station, he mentioned another thing. By the way, President, regarding the recruitment of people for our Apocalypse Guild, what are your plans? Recruiting people in a guild is a very serious matter, similar to recruiting people in a company. Of course, Li Kai has to ask the leader, that is, Yilin's opinion. Are you worried about other forces planting spies? Li Kai nodded. Actually. Yilin smiled kindly and began to express her thoughts. We can do this and this. Li Kai, ah. It can still be like that. Li Kai, oh. If you are bolder, you can do it like this. Li Kai narrowed his eyes and opened some gaps. I'm stupid. Half an hour later, Yilin left the great engineer tower with peace of mind. Li Kai looked at Yilin's stalwart figure when she left and sighed deeply. No wonder he can stand on top of me. In terms of insidiousness, I'm not as good as him. Well. Snow Mountain Station. The teleportation array arranged in advance flashed with light. Following the neatly packed large boxes behind her, Yilin instantly returned to the station with the help of the power of the super-large teleportation array. Soon, friends came to watch the fun. Ah! So much wine. Ningyu is ready to make a move. He was even imagining himself wearing a decent sleeveless suit with a bow tie around his neck, being wrapped into a rice dumpling by Xiao Chuer with a smile. Thinking about it, I feel a little excited. Molly knocked on the edge of the largest box with a shy face, her eyes flashing with flames. Is this the vacuum smelting equipment contained in it? Yulin did not answer one by one and asked Lee Zioki to arrange manpower to move these supplies to a fixed place. The vacuum smelting furnace is already in place. You are responsible for setting up the entire Unit 0 assembly line first. Yes. Lee Zioki also looked excited. He didn't expect to be personally involved in such a major event. Assuming that the Unit 0 mentioned by the President and Miss Mo is really the same as the mecha in science fiction movies, then this is really a feat that can leave a mark in human history. Maybe in the future, in the history books, his name Lee Zioki will be marked with Contractor Lee Zioki. Without saying anything, Molly rolled up her sleeves and happily went to the workshop to supervise the work. Shortly after, Yulin issued an announcement to everyone. 10 shops on the commercial and entertainment street are officially recruiting everyone in the area. Auction. The highest bidder wins. In a personal store, corresponding commercial activities can be carried out. After paying the auction DP in one go, you only need to pay 40% of the turnover to the guild every month, and you can keep the store until you no longer want to continue operating. 40% of turnover? This turnover commission may sound like a lot at first. But it's not. Yulin's subsequent charges do not include a set monthly rent. Everything is based on turnover. In other words, to go to the extreme, assuming that the monthly turnover is 0, the store owner does not need to pay any fees and can continue to keep the store. In addition, many people have their own skills, such as cooking skills, handicrafts, service skills, etc. These are even low-cost and high-profit craftsmen. A mere 40% of the turnover is actually compared with the preciousness of the residents. Nothing at all. There are only 3 guild stations in the world. As for the shops in Sushin Station, Yulin currently only plans to open 10. In other words, the shops within these 10 guilds are ranked among the best in the world. Yulin has set corresponding rules in the store in advance. For apostles who have reached the corresponding level and enabled the transaction function, all transactions in the store will be monitored by the rules. There is no possibility of taking advantage of any loopholes. Generally speaking, no one is that bored. After Yulin released the news in the station, many people started to get excited. Those who were interested in opening a shop in the station began to look for acquaintances to borrow DP. During this time, Yulin was not idle either. He was thinking about developing his abilities all the time to make himself taller, thicker, stronger, and stronger. When he accidentally checked the world rankings, Yulin found that without any improvement in the comprehensive evaluation of his attributes, equipment, record, etc., his world rankings had moved up a few places for no reason, and he was already close to the top 80 in the world. If you think about it carefully, there is no other reason that can explain this phenomenon except that some of the strongest men in the world have fallen. After thinking about this, even Yulin could not help but feel a trace of sadness in his heart, like a rabbit dying and a fox dying. No matter who you are, there is no guarantee that you can survive the trials again and again to the end. The store's auction went very smoothly. In the blink of an eye, 10 shops were successfully rented out at high prices. The store with the highest price actually sold a huge price of 120,000 death points. It seems that the Shen's army of the Li family is quite wealthy, and Li Kai still exploited it lightly. Yulin thought about it secretly. Another matter resolved. The tavern that Ning Right Eye has longed for has also entered the final stage of preparations. In a blink of an eye. It has been almost a month since I returned from the trial in Kanzaki City. It's late April. At a new weekly meeting, Yulin looked at the other people in the seat, smiled slightly and said, "Now we discuss the grouping for the next trial. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 626. Ahem. At the meeting, Yulin finished speaking. Li Chang'e, Su Jingjing, and Wang Tiandi, two of them and one dog, started coughing crazily. The previous members of the other group, Li Erpang, Ning Yu, and Xiao Chuer, were flirting back and forth, exchanging glances secretly. "Are you sick?" Yilin asked curiously. As the president, he is very concerned about the physical and mental health of his members. "No, no, no," Su Jingjing immediately stood up and denied, "I choked on my saliva." Yilin looked at Li Chang'e expressionlessly, "You too?" Li Chang'e straightened his face and smiled calmly, "What a coincidence, it really is." Wang Wang Tiandi raised his paw vigorously, stretched out his tongue, and pointed at the tip of his tongue with his paw, as if to indicate that he was also choked by saliva. Yilin was thoughtful. After pondering for a moment, "So you guys swallowed the same saliva?" Wahahahahaha. Molly slapped the table and laughed in an incomprehensible manner. "Okay," after playing for a while, Yilin knocked on the table, "No kidding. The lists of the three groups have been decided. Currently in our station, based on my preliminary judgment based on strength and level, the elite group has 24 people. There are 72 people in the general group." Ning Yu did a quick calculation and asked, "President, the number seems wrong." Yilin smiled, "As I said last time, Lao Pan and I cannot be counted in the elite group." "Then what kind of group are you?" Yilin thought for a moment. Since Ning Yu asked sincerely, Yilin couldn't be perfunctory. He spent 3 seconds to pick a name for the group that he and Lao Pan had listed separately. "One Hammer, the tuning group." "Hummed. Many people have noticed that your name was obviously a last-minute idea. The people in the guild can currently be roughly divided into 20 teams. If some of them are unwilling to form a team, Yilin will naturally not force them. In the 20 groups, according to the strength of each group, the ratio of agility side, strength side, and spirit side should be reasonably arranged. If anyone is willing to form a fixed team by himself, he can give his opinion to Li Ziyuki, and Yilin will combine the configuration of each group. Make adjustments as appropriate." During the second door trial, Yilin decided to use this method to improve the survival rate. After making a simple and reasonable arrangement, Yilin kindly asked the friends present at the end, "The second door trial is currently arranged like this. The goal is to conquer the difficult door, nightmare level, and above. Don't force the door. As long as you can survive. By the way, does anyone want to team up with me?" Yilin's last sentence, the last, hadn't been finished yet. Wang Tiandi, Li Chang'e, Su Jingjing, and Li Erpang all moved in unison and shook their heads, expressing their strong desire to refuse. Yilin slowly typed a question mark. "It doesn't make sense. It's okay if others are not happy. According to Li Chang'e's character, he should try his best to hold his thigh tightly." Su Jingjing had already thought of the reason and said it unambiguously, "To be honest, we are all afraid of holding back the president." Yeah. Okay. The others cooperated flawlessly and nodded loudly. Privately, Ning Yu, Xiao Chuer, Su Ziyasu, and Li Erpang have not personally experienced the Eternal Night level difficulty trial in Kanzaki City. But the curiosity was definitely there, and while they had nothing to do, they gossiped about a lot of details about their time in Kanzaki City. When they heard that Yilin Ghost was tricking people everywhere and finally using his ultimate move to kill them, they all looked at each other. Li Erpang, Ning Yu, and Xiao Chuer once worked with Yilin in the world of Uranos to get through the ending, and even almost played the hidden ending. At the end of that trial, the difficulty also soared to Eternal Night level. But in order to survive, Li Erpang and others finally chose to return decisively and quit early before the difficulty soared. I didn't expect that Eternal Night level would be so terrifying. At the same time, they also felt something strange. Have you noticed that the trial with that boy is particularly difficult? Li Erpang recalled the trial in Gotham City earlier and had a deep understanding. A few of them finally discussed and pondered over and over again, and finally came to a conclusion. Going to trial with this guild leader is very dangerous. That's why the scene at the meeting happened. Li Chang'e also felt secretly distressed. In order to survive, he didn't even dare to hug his thighs. Maybe if you do it alone, your survival rate will be higher. Several people were hemming and hawing, but Yilin didn't think much about it. It didn't matter to him. He felt that there wasn't much difference between entering the door alone and as a team. Anyway, his current strength is seriously inconsistent with his own level, far beyond his current level. As long as you don't run into traps like replicas again, it won't be a big problem. In Kanzaki City, Yilin's biggest enemy became himself. If Little Fatty and the others don't follow him, they can also dedicate manpower to lead other teams. Yilin is also happy to see this result. After Su Jingjing and others unanimously rejected Yuren's invitation, Oda Mai, who had been holding the steel ball and brushing Sakura Mai Ikemonji in her seat, silently raised the knife. Hiss. Everyone else is raising their hands, so why are you raising your knife? Molly looked at Oda Mai's calm expression and suddenly felt something was wrong. It seems that Xiao Wu and Na Hunden have teamed up too often. Yilin wanted to refuse. Seeing that Mai Oda was holding a knife instead of a hand, she suddenly fell silent. After a moment, Yilin only said 2 words. Reconsideration. The meeting on how to form a fixed team ended in a hurry. Facing the next door trial, everyone in the Apocalypse Guild has temporarily shelved all planned business activities and the construction of the Unit 0 assembly line. Prepare wholeheartedly for the next door trial. Shortly after the meeting ended, Fatty Li came to the door in secretly. He, we are pretty familiar, right? When Li Erpang came to the door, Yilin happened to be summoning the upgraded Night Dyer. Holding up a Xiaoshizhen brand ancient knife, he carefully scraped the armor plate on the Dyer surface and carved the corresponding circuits. Well, it's okay. What's wrong? Although she and Li Erpang were not close friends, they still had a friendship. Yilin looked at the little fat man's lewd expression and decided to listen to Li Erpang's request. Can I borrow your compass? Although Li Erpang felt that the last trial experience was a bit cheating. But overall, it was a near miss. It was safer than being in the same trial as Yilin. Having tasted the sweetness, Li Erpang came up with the idea of Kangxing compass without saying a word. Sure. Yilin generously put down the Xiaoshizhen brand ancient sword in his hand, patted Night Dyer seat bag to signal Night Dyer not to scream exhaust fume in protest, and explained to Li Erpang with a smile, my compass, every time I go in and out of the trial, the number of uses will be refreshed. There are only 2 times in total, and I personally will definitely use one of them. Then there's only one left. It's a pity you're late. Yilin shook her head regretfully. What? As early as half an hour ago, Ning Yu, Li Chang'e, Xiao Chuer, and Su Jingjing all asked me to borrow them. I am stupid. Li Erpang didn't expect that other people were more shameless than him, and one by one they actually did such sneaky things. Yilin lowered his head in distress in front of Li Erpang, but it's only once, and lending it to anyone seems to hurt your harmony. How to deal with it? When Li Erpang heard this, it made sense. We all have such deep feelings that no one else feels comfortable lending it to anyone. Wouldn't this make things difficult for the president? Li Erpang felt that what Yilin said made sense. So. The troubled expression on Yilin's face disappeared instantly. He patted Li Erpang on the shoulder, smiled kindly, and comforted him. I came up with a compromise that no one else will have any objections to. Hey? Is there such a perfect solution? Tell me about it. It's very simple, auction, the highest bidder wins. In the end, the only use of Kangxin's compass was bought by Suzayasu at a high price of 62,000 DP. Yilin has discovered many ways to make money. Whether it is the commission from the shop's monthly turnover or the auction and rental fees for the Kungsin Compass props, they can continuously bring DP income to the guild. As long as the wallets of guild members are richer and the strength of guild members is higher, the station managed by Yilin will only become richer and richer. This is a virtuous cycle. Not to mention that Yilin also has a hating city resident, the Great Engineer Tower. Yilin believes that when the situation in Hating City is stabilized by Li Kai, it will also bring Yilin a lot of death point income. 3 days passed. In the Apostle Forum, there are areas corresponding to each level. An anonymous apostle posted the same message. This is actually a recruitment notice. On May 12th, the Apocalypse Guild will hold its first recruitment fair outside the Great Engineer Tower in Hating City, outside the High Wall. Employment requirements, Level 2. Application requirements, show your personal strengths. Admission method, on-site judges will select the best candidates. Number of students admitted, no limit. Welcome to the Great Engineer Tower. After the version update, a recruitment message appeared in the Good Apostle Forum, which made many people dream of going back to the era of social animals. But this is no ordinary job fair, it's the world's #1 guild, Apocalypse, which is finally recruiting. After the version update, the number of deaths in the world due to forced recruitment is difficult to estimate, but the number of apostles who survived in the end far exceeded the total number of previous apostles. Except for the inherent family power or some organizations in the past, idle amateurs who have no affiliation account for more than 90% of the current surviving apostles. These are all amateurs with no guild, no organization, and no family affiliation. Apocalypse Guild's reputation is loud enough in this circle. Many people have received the news. Currently, there are 4 regional servers in the world: Tower of War, Tower of Conquest, Tower of Death, and Tower of Famine. The total number of guilds in the 4 regional servers exceeds 100. But among so many guilds, there are only 3 guild stations. And Apocalypse Guild, the world's #1 guild that remains at the top of the world rankings, occupies 2 locations. The name of Apocalypse Guild, even in the ears of a newbie, is so loud that they dare not ignore it. And now, the world's #1 guild, a super guild with 2 locations, is openly recruiting. In other words, as long as you join this guild, doesn't it mean that they have become members of the world's #1 guild in an instant? As long as we join them, then we will also be #1. This news. In the circle. It's like a huge stone thrown down, causing thousands of waves. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 627. The alternative job fair Li Kai planned to hold caused an uproar in the Apostle Circle. But this incident did not affect Yilin's rhythm. The geographical location of the Snow Mountain Refuge gives people the illusion of being far away from the hustle and bustle of the world. Even other members in the community would check the forum from time to time to brag and pretend to be cute. After seeing the job fair jointly promoted by their vice president and the president, it was hot search by countless people for several days. He just smiled and said nothing. Apart from feeling proud, he didn't think it was a big deal. Aren't you a member of the world's #1 guild? What is this? Here, who is not the #1 member in the world? They even made a lot of money in the guild and are almost becoming senior members. Under Li Ziyuki's arrangement, the grouping for the second door trial is about to be completed. Li Shijhen, take care of me a little bit. Yilin looked at the fixed team grouping list handed over by Li Ziyuki for a while and made a preliminary analysis of the team's ability configuration, but found no major problems. Li Shijhen's abilities are a bit biased, but since she can survive to this day with such a biased ability, she is naturally outstanding, and Yilin is not too worried. So after Yilin just warned her, she initially approved the group list arranged by Li Ziyuki. There are a few things on the list that are slightly special. Suzayasu wanted to be on the same team as Li Erpang to the death, and was unwilling to separate even to death. Therefore, Yulin could only let her husband and wife form a team, and assigned 3 members of the Shen's army who were more auxiliary in ability to balance the strength of the team. Li Erpang and Suzayasu didn't have much objection to this. Firstly, they have the compass from the heart to guide them, and secondly, both of them are on the strength side, with high defense, thick health, and resistance to hums. Together with 3 apostles whose abilities tend to be auxiliary, this is exactly what they want. Anyway, as long as you don't team up with Yulin, everything will be fine. By the way, Li Shizhen, who was responsible for helping Yulin plant the forbidden fruit seeds of wisdom, came to see Yulin during the period. But what she brought was not good news. After Li Shizhen's careful cultivation, the rare soil showed no reaction at all. Not even a speck of green could be seen, let alone germination. She felt that the handful of seeds Yulin gave her was probably a dead seed. Li Shizhen felt very guilty at the time. She felt that Yulin had given her such a big greenhouse to take care of, but she couldn't even plant a few simple seeds. This obviously affected Li Shizhen's self-esteem. Yulin did not tell Li Shizhen that what she planted were the seeds left behind after the epic apple was chewed up. She just comforted her softly that it didn't matter if she couldn't plant it now, she could just plant it later. In case the seed doesn't come out, let's talk about it. Yulin did not mention the consequences of not being able to plant seeds. Yulin's comfort with a smile made Li Shizhen so touched that she almost cried. On the eve of entering the trial, Yulin's heart stopped. He found Ling Yiyi at the station. Ling Yiyi was wrapped in a light cotton jacket and stuffing clothes into the washing machine one by one. "Why are you doing this?" Yulin sighed softly and waved her hand. The 12 smart washing machines in the laundry room opened their lids at the same time. The clothes floated up automatically and were divided into piles in mid-air. They were stuffed into the washing machine by an invisible big hand. "Start running." The work that originally took half an hour to complete was completed in just 10 seconds with Yulin's thought. "I have to say, it's really fast." Ling Yiyi reached for the empty basket and realized that it was Yulin who had helped her get rid of all the clothes. "Everyone in the station is busy with their own things, so I can't help but work." Ling Yiyi responded with a smile. She stood there, and the old cotton-padded jacket could not hide Ling Yiyi's unearthly beauty, making her look like a fairy who had fallen into the world. The above description is very cliché, but every time she sees Ling Yiyi, Yulin can't help but feel this way in her heart. Out of the dust. Refined. No pyrotechnic smell. Just like the scene where she was under the shade of the trees in the afternoon, with a few rays of warm sunshine shining on her side, touching the blind book and listening attentively with headphones. That memory seemed to be fixed in Yulin's memory. Every time he thought of it, Yulin's restless heart would calm down instantly. When Yulin faced Ling Yiyi, she had many doubts in her heart. He wondered what Ling Yiyi meant to him. He wondered about Ling Yiyi's existence. He wonders about the deviations that arise when the future intersects with the past. Suddenly looking back, Yulin realized that Ling Yiyi had become a mystery without knowing when. There is a mystery entrenched in his way forward. If he cannot figure out this mystery, Yulin will not be able to reach the future. This world has given birth to countless time artifacts, but in the end, all artifacts lead to the same end. Why? There is only one way, the only way, to bring this world to the second ending. Any solution? Zioxi's words lingered in Yulin's ears again. In front of Yulin's eyes, the strange 2 points and 1 line appeared in front of Xiao 11 again. And, Xiao 11 raised an index finger in a mysterious way. "I hate the Riddler the most." "What are you thinking about?" Warm hands groped Yulin's body and finally rested on Yulin's face. A familiar yet unfamiliar touch interrupted Yulin's contemplation. Ling Yiyi couldn't see with her eyes, so she could only feel Yulin in this way. "Nothing." Yulin sighed in her heart. There were so many things to say, but when it came to Ling Yi, she couldn't say a single word. After a few words of concern, Yilin bid farewell to Ling Yi and left quickly. If someone were looking at Yilin's back at this moment, they might be able to sense a hint of embarrassment about running away. Ling Yi looked at Yilin's running back and muttered, "That guy, why are you running so fast? I forgot to ask him about Meng Meng." After a while, Ling Yi shook her head, "Forget it, I'll say hello after he's free and give him a surprise by the way, hee." While talking, Ling Yi walked outside with brisk steps. She squinted her eyes hard, raised her head, and faced the direction with the brightest light in the camouflage sky. She slowly stretched out her hand, clasping her fingers as if she wanted to grab something. In the snow mountain shelter, all the members gathered on the martial arts field. Basically, they were divided into small groups according to their respective groups. Although everyone is not new to it. But every time before entering a trial, most people's faces show a variety of emotions such as worry, nervousness, or excitement. Yilin floated into the air. From a high position, overlooking the entire scene. After everyone arrived, Yilin didn't say anything nonsense and coughed twice. Ahem. In an instant, the whispers in the martial arts arena turned into dead silence. Many people looked at Yilin's floating figure and indifferent expression in the sky, and their uneasiness was swept away. Their president is so calm, why are they nervous? Haha, everyone is so stupid, I won't say any more unnecessary opening remarks. Yilin chuckled. Hearing Yilin's opening remarks, bursts of laughter erupted in the venue. I don't ask you to gain much benefit from the trial. I don't ask you to make much contribution to the guild either. As the president, I have only one request for you. Yilin smiled and held out a finger. The moment Yilin stretched out her finger, the laughter stopped abruptly. That is, survive. For a time, the sounds of wolves howling, yelling, and panting were all in one. After a simple morale boost, Yilin landed next to Oda Mai, Amo Rendi, Molly, and others. Ning Yu, Suzayasu, Li Erpang, Xiao Chuer, Li Ziyuki and other elite groups began to gather team members and open the corresponding doors. Doors that only their respective teams can see appear in front of them. In each team, after the corresponding captain made the corresponding choice, people disappeared one after another on the martial arts field and entered the door trial. Amo Rendi coughed twice and slowly sat down on the snow. Molly watched them disappear one by one, and her expression became unusually heavy. I don't know how many of these disappeared people will come out alive after a few minutes or hours. There are 100 pieces of Yilin's Scarlet Butcher knife. The unique attributes of Scarlet Butcher knife can give them more power to protect themselves during trials. If there is force majeure, there is nothing to say. Despite the hard power of these Shen's army, as long as they do not choose a trial that is too difficult, survival should not be a problem. When Molly was feeling heavy, Yilin came over with a smile and put a stack of folded papers into Molly's hand. Ah, this. Molly was stunned. Could this letter be? Too impatient. Yilin said, don't think about it, this is a tips bag. Who is so messed up, what kind of tips? In case I don't come back, or don't come back in time, you'll know when you open it. Bah! Why did you choose this time to say such unlucky words? Molly's delicate face darkened suddenly. Yilin chuckled, just in case, I have been unlucky recently, I have to take precautions. It may be used, or it may not be used. But before that, don't open it, hide it. Halfway through, Yilin turned sideways and added, I believe you. Molly's expression was slightly startled, and she looked at Yilin's calmly leaving figure. Finally, she suppressed her strong curiosity and put the tip bag in her pocket. The martial arts arena became increasingly empty. Yilin glanced at Guzi, Wang are you really not following me this time? Emperor Wang Tian shook his head like a rattle, making a snapping sound on his neck. Last time Goza was really frightened by the enthusiasm of the family of three, and the shadow in his heart has not yet fully recovered. Forget about the door trial this time, I will definitely do it next time. Wang Er also entered the door. After Suzayasu made the choice of Kangxin with Kangxin's compass, she handed the compass back to Yilin. Without saying anything, she nodded slightly, smiled sweetly, held the little fat man's neck, and joined the other three Shen's army teammates. Step into the door. We're the only ones left. Yilin and Otamai looked at each other. Otamai smiled gently, held the long knife tightly, and smiled without saying a word. The door opened, and 5 doors shrouded in different colors appeared in front of Yilin. Now that there are enough death points, no one would dare to say anything even if it means embezzling public funds. This shows that his prestige in the hearts of the people is high. Without saying a word, Yilin directly hit a wave of death points, revealing the first additional keyword. The keyword on one of the doors seems strange. Yilin held the compass tightly. Deep in your heart, meditate on your heart's desire. After a while, the randomly moving needles of the compass suddenly froze in front of one of the doors. Is there really? No one knows what Yiren is looking for with the compass. But Yilin knew it very well. If the compass cannot find Yilin's inner desire, it will not point out the direction. Once the guide is revealed, it means that in the corresponding world behind the door, Yilin will definitely be able to find what she desires. The message on that door is clearly: Gate number 4, difficulty, nightmare keywords, leisure farming keywords, mining in the hole. How can casual farming and mining in caves reach nightmare level difficulty? Didn't you say it's good to farm for leisure? Yilin's curiosity was aroused. If the compass's guidance was correct, he would definitely enter this door. But the other one? Yilin took a breath, glanced at Otamai who was about to move, quietly dismissed the team, and said, I'm sorry. After saying that, Yilin broke into the door of leisure farming alone. In the martial arts arena, only the stunned Otamai was left. After a while, Chiang. A sharp sword energy swept from the ground to high in the sky, splitting the goose-feathered snow curtain in the sky into two. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 628. Xiao Wu should be a little angry, right? Yilin was suspended in the white light. He was thinking about what happened just now, leaving Otamai behind and bursting through the door alone, feeling a little unsure. Maybe, could, or should be a little angry. But my Ota has become a lot more docile recently. People are also gentle. Became reasonable. If you apologize properly when you get back, it shouldn't be a big problem. It was indeed a spur-of-the-moment idea that Yilin left behind Otamai and broke into the door alone. Because among the 5 doors, the door he chose did not seem to be suitable for Otamai. The keywords of the other door, something like Sword Master and Sword Master Shattering the Void, seemed to be more compatible with Otamai. It's just that Yilin has her own reasons. Never mind. It's okay if she doesn't get angry. Moreover, it is only a nightmare level difficulty. It may be a scourge to others, but to Yilin, it is just a drizzle. While Yilin was thinking, there was no grinding in this trial, and the corresponding plot prompts appeared soon after. You are tired of the hustle and bustle of the city. You are also tired of the intrigues between people. You once had a grandfather you never met. He died. Then he left you a deserted farm. On that island, there are birds singing, flowers fragrant, lush greenery, and neighbors getting along well with each other. It is a paradise. You decide to inherit your grandfather's legacy and become an agricultural tycoon. But what you didn't expect is that on this paradise-like island, 4 other grandfathers also died. There are 5 future agricultural tycoons who will inherit the inheritance. Your respective grandfathers all think that their grandson is the most awesome. So they made a bet after their death. In 3 years, whose grandson's agricultural development cannot meet their requirements, they will live and teach their grandson a lesson. Please be careful, Grandpa, fierce. Yilin, read the plot prompts carefully. Read it 3 times quickly. The more I read, the more strange it becomes. Etc. The time span of this trial is 3 years. Yilin's calm face suddenly twisted. In the Snow Mountain station. Should they be okay? Molly unscrewed the thermos flask. The steaming aroma of coffee floats out. Hee. Amorendi just smiled and made no comment. After 1 hour. On the square. In a flash of light, someone returned from the trial alive. Several people were kneeling on the ground, gasping for air, looking up to the sky and gasping, "Huh, huh, I am alive." Someone is crying. Someone is laughing. Someone is roaring. In short, those who survived were in a state of despair, falling into intense emotions and unable to extricate themselves. Molly gave full play to her role as the head of the logistics department and stepped forward to deliver water and comfort. In the following time, people returned from the trial one after another. The martial arts arena became lively again. Wow! Kaka! I passed. A wave of laughter resounded across the sky. Fat Lee has also returned. He has lost weight and turned into a muscular man, with all the fat from his body gone. Suzayasu breathed a long sigh of relief. He didn't know what they had gone through in the trial, but they were able to use Li Erpang's bottom pressing move, burn fat, also forced out. In the next period of time, Li Erpang had no choice but to eat desperately and work hard to gain fat. 5 hours passed in the blink of an eye. As each apostle returns one after another. Some people were traumatized and returned to their residences to rest. Li Ziyuki once again came back alive from the trial. His whole temperament became much calmer, and it was obvious that he had gained a lot. He came to Molly and cupped his hands. "Miss Mo, where is the president?" Molly curled her lips. "I still want to ask you. It's strange, Hunden was very fast last time, why did it take so long this time? The president hasn't returned yet?" Li Ziyuki just made a rough count of everyone. The results of this team trial under reasonable arrangements are obvious. Among the team that has returned alive, only 2 people have lost their lives. This survival rate is already ridiculously high. There is no doubt that the mode of forming a fixed team can indeed increase the survival rate. Li Ziyuki wanted to report the good news to Yilin, but unexpectedly, Yilin hadn't returned yet. At this time, Li Ziyuki carefully opened the communication panel and took a look, and he breathed a sigh of relief. It was also unimaginable for him that with the strength of that president, he would fall in the trial. Yilin single-handedly became the pillar of this guild. If Yilin dies, it can be considered a huge piece of bad news for Tiankai Guild. Still alive. Yilin's name is still lit, indicating that she is still alive. Don't worry, the president must have encountered some difficult tasks, or the time span of the president's tasks is too long, and he will not be able to return for a while. Miss Mo, you don't need to worry too much. Instead, Li Ziyuki comforted Molly. He was also an old driver. If Li Ziyuki couldn't see the complicated and entangled relationship between the president and Molly, Ling Yi, and Oda Mai during their time together, then he would have the experience of an experienced driver is really in vain. Of course, most of the time Li Ziyuki pretends to be confused and doesn't tell the truth without seeing through. To avoid embarrassment to your own president. Li Ziyuki said this. Although Molly was still a little worried, there was nothing she could do about it. As long as a person was alive, everything was possible, and it was useless to worry too much. It's impossible for her to break into Yilin's mission world to help. After everyone returned one after another, the construction of the Apocalypse Guild Snow Mountain Station was back on track. The next day, Yilin still hasn't returned. Amorendi, who was doing senior aerobics in the martial arts arena, suddenly turned his head and looked towards the center of the empty martial arts arena. There was a flash of light. An expressionless Myota appears in the martial arts arena. At the moment of appearance, the falling snowflakes around seemed to solidify for a moment. The white of one of Myota's right eyes disappeared and was covered with a layer of pure black as deep as ink. It wasn't until several seconds later that her eyes returned to their normal state. Amorendi stepped out step by step, stepping on the snow, and walked to Otamai. If someone is bored and carefully measures the footprints that Amorendi has stepped on, he will be surprised to find that the distance between each step of Amorendi, from the tip of his front toe to the next heel, is not more or less. So just right. Amorendi looked at Otamai up and down with a surprised look on his face, a strange light flashing through his cloudy eyes. Then what did the old boy teach you? Otawu sheathed her sword, and her expression returned to calm, like a pool of stagnant water. Faced with Amorendi's inquiry, Otamai did not answer. The first words she said after returning were actually, "What about him?" "Who?" "Cold. He's not back yet." Otamai arched her hands towards Amorendi and turned sideways, intending to leave. "The ultimate way." Amorendi looked at Otamai's back and said 4 words. Otamai paused. "Sure enough, it's that old boy's style." Amorendi lowered his head and thought, then shook his head, "The ultimate is not necessarily the peak." When Otawu heard this, she became interested, then turned back and looked at Amorendi with cold eyes. "Excuse me, Mr. Emo, what is the peak?" Amorendi raised his skinny fist slightly and said with a smile, "An old friend once said something to me. If you want to reach the extreme, punch 10,000 times a day, keep punching for a long time, persist for 10 years, and the extreme can be achieved." Otamai frowned slightly. "Master, he also said this." "Hey, he copied me, it's shameless. But I have a new understanding now." "Please say." "There is no ultimate in the world. If you persevere and practice for 10 years and 100 years, the punch you throw at the end of your life is the ultimate. That is the pinnacle." Amorendi made a slow punching motion, "the so-called peak. There is only one time, there is only one punch, that is the most brilliant fire, that is the peak." What Otamai finds strange is this. This fist was soft, giving Otamai the feeling that she couldn't even kill a mere tiger, but Otamai felt that there was something hidden in that fist. "You're still young, don't push yourself too hard." Amorendi waved his hand and walked back to the dormitory happily. Looking at the figure of Amorendi, who was walking slowly like a lonely old man, Otamai seemed to understand but not understand, and was thoughtful. It was the 3rd day in a blink of an eye. Molly heard that Otamai was also back. "I don't know if it's because I don't dare or I'm embarrassed or for some other reason." Molly didn't go to Myota. She hurriedly came to Lee Zayuki, who was directing the Shen's army to install assembly line equipment. "What about Hundan? Are you back?" Lee Zayuki was embarrassed to ask who Hundan was. But in the entire station, the only one who could be called soulless by Miss Emo was the president. "I heard, not yet." The 4th day. Yilin hasn't returned yet. Day 5. Day 6. Molly didn't panic at first. But as time passed, she began to become a little anxious. What she didn't know was that she wasn't the only one who was anxious. It is said that senior members' leisure area, on the sunny beach. One of the team members accidentally cut down all the parasols. Even when he was practicing swordplay on the beach, the deep and shallow knife marks formed a big word death. I don't know whether this kind of behavior is a loss of morality or a distortion of human nature. Everyone knows it. No one dared to find out who had done it. In the end, nothing happened. If the name Yulin hadn't been on many people's communication lists, they would have panicked. No one expected that Yulin would be gone for 6 days for this trial. After the version update, the time lapse between the virtual world and the real world is no longer 1 minute, but has a certain ratio. During their free time, many people secretly speculated on what kind of trial the president had been trapped in, and he still hadn't come out yet. It is said that later, Li Chang'e, Li Erpang, Li Xiaoqi, and others went to the senior member beach leisure area to check secretly. The word death is so sharp that it makes people panic. The beach was split open. Without Yulin, no one has the authority to repair the architectural scene in the station. Li Xiaoqi checked the list in his address book from time to time. He, who was very calm at first, started to panic. President, if you don't come back. This station. I'm afraid something big will happen. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 629. The First Spring. Even if there are only 30 days in a quarter. 3 years and 360 days. Calculated, I will have to stay in this trial for nearly a year. Alas. The spring breeze is warm and everything revives. This is a season when all things spring. Yulin carried the rusty hoe on his shoulders, looked at the barren field covered with weeds, and sighed deeply. This bad land is the so-called legacy farm left by the grandfather I never met. To be honest, I regret it. Primary main task, obtain 30 million assets in 3 years. Secondary main mission, at the end of the 3-year period, obtain the top 2 rankings in the farmer rankings. Completion of either the primary main task or the secondary main task is deemed to be completed. Main mission reward, designate 1 farmer machine and 1 corresponding random reward after the mission is completed, you can return to the real world. Warm reminder, don't forget, you are a proud farmer. The content of the main mission is vivid in my mind. Yulin only realized the deception of this trial after carefully considering the content of the main mission. The keywords are actually correct. The theme of this trial is indeed leisure farming. Incredibly casual. It has been 4 days since Yulin came here. First day. Yulin quickly mastered the rules and went to the wild to dig wild vegetables, cut down trees, and cultivate farmland. With the money from selling wild vegetables, I went to the town and bought my first potato seeds. The next day. Sowing seeds, watering, continuing to dig wild vegetables, and taking a walk around the town to get to know the residents. I don't know why. The residents of the town, who were originally smiling, glared angrily when they saw Yulin, with dark faces, wanting to kick Yulin out of the house. In the seed store, Yulin even paid 20% more for a bag of potato seeds. There was a resident named Penny who was so frightened that she screamed and ran away when she saw Yulin. At that time, Yulin thought she had done something evil, so she turned around and activated her stealth skills to escape, for fear of touching some death flag that she shouldn't have touched. The third day. All the seeds were planted, and Yulin worked hard to water them. A middle-aged man named Louis sullenly took a pack of farmer's lunch and 500 G and gave them to Yulin, saying that they were debts owed to Yulin's dead grandfather who he had never met. After paying off this time, we will never have contact with each other from now on, and if you have the guts, don't enter the town again, and so on. This is so damn charming. Yulin felt her head hurt when she thought of finding ways to increase the favorability of the residents in the town. At Yulin's farm. Yulin sat under the eaves, wearing a down-to-earth farmer's outfit and a straw hat to avoid the scorching sun. Hose, watering cans, pickaxes, sickles, and axes follow their own routes, turning soil, watering, knocking stones, mowing grass, and chopping trees. Under the command of Yulin's telekinesis, Yulin easily realized the fully automatic assembly line operation without any pressure. Master, I feel like you are cheating. Being idle and bored, Gaya dressed in a student uniform, floated behind Yulin. She conjured up a small pink fan from nowhere and fanned Yulin obediently. However, Gyakomi's current level cannot maintain her physical form outside the evil thought space, so the wind only blows away the loneliness and feels nothing. I've been dissatisfied with you for a long time. Can you change your shameful uniform? Bai Xiaoi floated out with her hands on her hips, pointed at Gyajiamimi's nose and cursed. Nai's red sleeves also floated out and she said nothing. But looking at her expression, and the strands of white hair that transformed into murderous cold weapons, it was obvious that she wasn't too happy either. Okay, stop arguing. Seeing that the three little female spirits were playing PK with three people in the street, Yulin weakly waved her hands in a gesture of stopping. Even if they did fight again, Yulin wouldn't bother to care. Anyway, the three mother spirits have no body, and they wouldn't be able to get angry if they fight. Maybe as we fight, our feelings will deepen. I was just thinking this. They really got into a fight. The three mother spirits huddled together in mid-air. Yulin stared at Bai Huahua's thighs, expressionless, lost in thought. When using the compass from the heart, Yulin's desire at the time was to get more crystals. Then the compass pointed Yulin here. In other words, here, Yulin can find a way to increase the value of the crystals brought out of the world of Auranos. Or maybe it's a core similar to a crystal that can drive crystal patterns. But at present, it seems that Yulin has no idea that this kind of farming-themed trial has anything to do with crystal. In fact, this trial was really not difficult for Yulin. Yulin had already figured out the way to pass the level safely in just 3 seconds after the main mission was completed. It's so obvious. Find 3 farmers at random and kill them, and they will be firmly in the top 2. Even if he had to sleep for 360 days during this trial, he could still safely complete the secondary main mission. But what's the point? The purpose of his coming here is not just to clear the customs. There is no difficulty in passing the level. Too easy. It was so simple that Yulin couldn't even think of taking action. There is no difference between killing now and killing at the end. Anyway, this so-called farmer ranking is updated in real time without any delay. Farmer ranking. Yulin thought silently in her heart. A translucent panel appeared in front of Yulin's eyes. Farmer ranking. 1 farmer, a lot of money. 2 farmer, strict conduct. 3 farmer, by runding. 4 farmer, Yulin. 5 farmer, Wangabe. There are a total of 5 people in this trial. Yulin had never heard of any other names except her own. They are all quite distinctive. This is the second time Yulin has opened the farmer ranking list. This time, a subtle change on the ranking list caught Yulin's attention. Farmer. After Yulin was stunned for a moment, he realized what he was saying and couldn't laugh or cry. How dare I believe that this farmer's level can be upgraded? There must be some kind of farmer king, farmer emperor, great farmer, etc., right? Although Yulin felt a little ridiculous in her heart. But he also understood one thing. It turns out that in this trial, the title of farmer can be upgraded. That's interesting. Yulin ignored the 3 little female spirits still entangled in the air and stood up slowly. After finishing today's work, all kinds of crude tools fell to the ground one after another, making a clanging sound. Let's explore the trial map first. Yulin smiled slightly. When Yuren started to enjoy the carefree days on the farm. In the Snow Mountain Station. The atmosphere gradually became uncomfortable. Yulin is the backbone of the entire Tiankai Guild. Since the establishment of the guild and the station, the members have never experienced a major incident where the guild president disappeared for so many days without appearing. Don't panic, everyone. The weekly meeting will proceed as usual. This guild cannot continue to operate because of the president's temporary departure. These are Molly's exact words. She felt that when N.A. Hunden was away, she had to bear the burden and be responsible for holding this regular meeting. Although Molly is not an apostle. but with her relationship with Yilin, her full responsibility for the Unit 0 assembly line, and Rendi's influence, she came to preside over the regular meeting, and the others had no objections. It is worth mentioning that, because Yilin was stuck in an unknown trial and had not yet returned, Oda Mai missed the weekly meeting for the first time. Of course, she was not absent without reason. She sent a formal request for leave in advance, saying that she was practicing swordsmanship in seclusion and had no intention of attending meetings. Everyone else believed this reason. Who the hell can't see it? Lee Ziyuki gradually integrated into this elite management team. After Nengyu briefly reported on the preparations for the commercial street, Lee Ziyuki looked at the main seat of the conference table. The president was supposed to be sitting there, but now there was a dog lying there. His brows twitched slightly, but he still maintained a straight face and began to speak. Some things that should be reported to the president privately will not be discussed here. Lee Ziyuki spoke slowly. I think everyone has visited the forum recently and learned that Vice President Lee has publicly released information about the job fair on the forum. In formal occasions, Lee Ziyuki cleverly called Lee Kai Vice President Lee instead of head of the family. Because this is Yilin's Apocalypse Guild, not the Lee family. Lee Ziyuki still knew the difference between right and wrong. At critical moments, his butt had to be straightened, not crooked. Job fair? Why didn't I know? When Molly heard this, she was suddenly startled. Lee Ziyuki then remembered that the Mo family's grandson and Ling Yi were the only three ordinary people in the residence who were not apostles and could not visit the Apostle Forum. Immediately, he quickly explained the recruitment information announced by Lee Kai in detail. Others are certainly not new. They had seen it on the forum a long time ago. After all, the recruitment information of Tiankai Guild has been placed in a prominent position like hot search these days. It is really difficult not to see it. Oh, no, maybe my Oda, who doesn't have the habit of visiting forums and pretending to be a cute newbie, really doesn't know about this big thing. Hearing this, Molly nodded, indicating that she understood. Secretly, she frowned and wondered secretly. Wait a moment. May 12th. So coincidental? Was that Hunden intentional or was it really such a coincidence? Isn't it the day before her birthday? Because Mo Rendi loves Sun so much, every time Molly has a birthday, a grand birthday party is held. Invitations were even sent to the heads of the major imperial families. If you don't come, you will be responsible for the consequences. Yingxia, Ulixin, Li Kai and others didn't have time to attend any birthday party, but they had no choice. Who could make the invincible fist strong at that time? Who dares not to go? Other senior members who had already gossiped about this matter nodded and made no comments for the time being. The impact of this incident is beyond imagination. Vice Chairman Lee has clearly set such harsh recruitment conditions in the public recruitment information. It can be speculated based on the trend on the forum that on May 12th, people from all over the country, whether it is other forces or some amateur apostles. Whether you really want to join our guild. I'm still here to watch the fun. Even planning to watch the joke. If you go too far, you might find trouble. Counting everyone together, the apostles who came to Hating City from other places. Having said this, Lee Ziyuki swallowed hard and made a gudong sound in the quiet and closed conference room. Conservative estimates put the number of people at more than 100,000. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 630. Congratulations to Farmer Yilin for her total assets exceeding 1,000 G. The level is upgraded to Farmer. Please keep up the good work. Potato seeds. Seed price 50 G. Growth cycle 6 days. Crop price normal, 80 G, silver, 100 G, gold, 120 G. Unlock recipe potato pancakes. Yurin had an experience like Auranos. No matter what weird things happen, Yiren will not be surprised. Unless you can't stand it? It's not to the point where I can't stand it anymore. The first spring, the 9th day. Yilin earned her first pot of gold by selling the first batch of potatoes. In addition, Yilin dug wild vegetables from time to time and threw them into the shipping box. On the 6th day, Yilin's total assets finally exceeded 1000 G, and she was upgraded from a farmer to a glorious farmer. Although Yilin tried his best to spend these 9 days with a Buddhist mentality, and even often used telekinesis to be lazy, it couldn't be said to be too hard. But when she finally saved up a huge sum of 1,000 G and upgraded to a farmer, Yilin still couldn't help but sigh from the bottom of her heart. This trial is a bit wasteful. Yilin sighed and sat under the shade of the tree to rest again. Master is lazy again. Bai Xiaoai was watching the fish swimming in the river, and when he was enjoying it, he made a casual comment. Nai Hongxiu sat on the roof, looking straight into the distance with her cold white eyes, not knowing what she was thinking. Only Yuriam's carrying little cotton-padded jacket, Gaijiamaimi, wearing a simple one-piece swimming club swimsuit, hugged Yuriam's shoulders with a distressed look, and tried her best to do her part as a multifunctional and considerate little beauty, so well behaved that it's heartbreaking. While hammering, Gaijiamaimi comforted her, "Master is tired. Look, he is sweating." Bai Xiaoai. Nai Hongxiu. A moment later, the three mother spirits got together again for various reasons. Yilin looked up at the white patch of legs tangled above her head and sighed softly, not bothering to stop it. In the past few days, they had been fighting back and forth, and Yilin was tired of seeing them, and she felt no emotion at all. Yilin gradually understood more rules of this farming trial. Crops are grown according to their quality. Normal, silver, gold. The price is the lowest for ordinary, and the highest for gold. By the way, I don't know if it's because of her low luck value, but the quality of the potatoes grown by Yilin is mediocre ordinary. Yilin opened the farmer ranking and took a look. It was discovered that Jianduoduo, who ranked first, had been upgraded to the level of great farmer. There is something. Yilin is still ranked fourth. But Yilin is not anxious at all about ranking. The trial that lasted for 360 days was nowhere to be seen. Formula. Yilin thought silently in her heart. A translucent light curtain emerged. As early as the first day, Yilin wondered whether she had fallen into a game world created by a certain boss again. But there is no reason to be so unlucky and have the same thing happen a second time. The function in the recipe interface is a bit like the forging function of the apostle. As long as the corresponding materials are inserted into the grid and the button is pressed, the corresponding props can be generated. Not so good at cooking. Cooking recipes are like recipes that can be found on the internet. Yilin must be honest, follow the instructions on the cooking formula, follow the established steps, master the heat, and stuff in the corresponding ingredients to cook the corresponding dish. Once a step goes wrong, a mysterious chemical reaction will occur in the pot. It turns into a strange black mush. For this reason, Yilin was hungry for 2 days before she successfully made her first potato pancake. The effect is very simple, it restores physical strength and a small amount of health. Cookings with attributes, if produced with energy, will undoubtedly have an effect on the improvement of the entire guild. I don't know if these recipes can be brought back to the real world. Yilin is worthy of being the leader of the world's #1 guild. When I successfully cooked the first potato pancakes, I was thinking about whether I could bring benefits to the Apocalypse Guild. If other people in the guild learned about this, they would probably be moved to tears. In the past 2 days, Yilin took some time and quietly walked around the entire valley. This is a place called Nongpo Valley. As for why it was called this name, Yilin didn't know. In the Nongpo Valley, the terrain is complex. Here, there are mountains. There are rivers that meander through the mountains. There are lakes of various sizes. There is an endless sea. There are jungle-covered wilderness. When she came to the edge of the map, Yulin was surprised to find that the entire Nongpo Valley was actually located on an isolated island. And that place called Gugu Town is located in the middle of the isolated island. Yulin looked far into the distance and saw no other islands except this isolated island. Yulin suspected that this island was probably the only map that Yulin had access to in the world. Because of all kinds of scruples, Yulin had no reason to take the risk and went to the sea to explore the map to its extremes. After all, the initial prompt for the mission also said so. Don't forget, you are a proud farmer. Yulin chewed this sentence carefully. He vaguely felt that this reminder was not as simple as it seemed. It was precisely because of this inexplicable friendly reminder that Yulin gave up the idea of exploring the sea. He is a farmer. Not a pirate. Not for a man who aspires to be a pirate king, heading to the sea is inconsistent with the original intention of the trial. By the way, Yulin discovered something strange. For 2 consecutive nights, the mayor of Gugu Town, Lu Yisai, who threw 3 farmers' lunch into Yulin's face with an angry expression, sneaked out of the town at night and didn't know where he was going. Yulin was busy exploring the map and had no time to follow. There should be something in Lao Lu's behavior. Well, I'll study it when I have time. Early on the 10th day, Yulin came to the seed shop. There was a potato harvest in the fields and the ground was empty. Idle time is also idle. If Yulin plans to plant something else, she can't be too salty. Yulin sold 70% of the potatoes from the last harvest and kept 30% to make a lot of potato pancakes. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the seed store opens on time. The old version of the store is a man with glasses named Pierre. When Yulin was wandering around the shelves, Pierre actually folded his arms and stared at Yulin from the side, his lenses reflecting the cold light strangely, and he sneered sinisterly. With Yulin's strength, even though she wouldn't feel uncomfortable because of this eye attack, being stared at like this made Yulin feel a little uncomfortable. Yulin picked at the dead skin. If he hadn't known that killing Pierre would not solve the problem and the atmosphere in the whole town was like this, Yulin would have been unable to resist taking action. He still held back. The overall situation is important. Actually it's nothing. It's all that damn charm. Peas, potatoes, parsnips, cauliflower. Yulin grabbed a handful of seeds on the shelves that could be sown in spring. Although through simple calculation, it is obvious that sowing potatoes in spring is the most cost-effective. But Yulin now understands that harvesting different crops can unlock some strange recipes. As the saying goes, existence is reasonable. The costs and benefits of each seed are clearly written. With a little brain, you can calculate that planting potatoes is the most profitable. But in this way, wouldn't other crops be useless? Yulin felt that this shouldn't be the case, so he decided to try everything and not come in vain. When Pierre was checking out Yulin, he smiled coldly, stared at this annoying face, and was about to sit down and raise the price. "Here, Boss Pie, would you like a piece?" Yulin looked at the dark face and remembered her previous experience of collecting wool to increase her favorability in other trials. She took out a piece of potato pancake from her pocket and gave it to him. Humph! Pierre's hand speed was incredibly fast, and the potato pancakes disappeared from Yulin's hands in a swish. Pierre's disdainful voice reached Yulin's ears, "The quality of these potatoes is nothing more than that. It doesn't matter if you don't eat it. It doesn't matter if you don't eat it." Pierre's grocery store manager, Pierre's favorability add 1. Yulin looked at Pierre's face that could be called tsundere and slowly asked a question. May 1st. The time is. The president disappeared on the 8th day. After Lee Ziyuki told him about the upcoming challenges in Hating City, everyone had different thoughts. Most of them have never been to the Great Engineer Tower in Hating City, which is rumored to be so magical in the Apostle Forum. But this does not prevent the members of the Shen's army from secretly browsing the Apostle Forum when they are taking a break from their busy schedule, laughing and sweating, and feel proud after looking at the posts of envy, jealousy, discussion, and yearning. To be honest, Yilin did expect that establishing a substation in Hading City and completely handing over the management of the station to Li Kai would increase the cohesion within the Tiankai Guild. But he didn't expect the effect to be so good. In fact, it's not just other people who yearn for the great engineer tower. The members of the Shen's army in the snowy mountains also yearn for the great engineer tower that is personally managed by their own family leader and is also part of the Apocalypse Guild. Full of longing, I thought it would be nice to even take a look. But Li Xiaoqi quietly spread the news from Li Kai. Because the Apocalypse Guild's big tree attracts the wind, because some people are jealous. On the day of the job fair, some people may go to Hading City to watch the jokes, watch the excitement, or even cause trouble. Brother Xiu, how can we repair this? Let's kill them back and kill them. Dare to come to our Tiankai territory and cause trouble? All of them will be killed. Kill. Ordinary members are enthusiastic and the momentum is rising. Li Xiaoqi smiled bitterly. Kill him back. I do want to kill him back. But the president is not here, how can we kill those who are in the deep mountains and snowy ridges back here? Crossing thousands of kilometers with legs? Now that the president is away, the station is leaderless. Li Kaiwen was far away in Hading, beyond his reach. Li Xiaoqi was helpless. Etc. Li Xiaoqi was in trouble. Suddenly he was stunned. He thought of something. It is said that this job fair was a gimmick to recruit people after discussion between the president and the vice president. Li Xiaoqi doesn't need to say much about the intelligence of his family leader. And the president's level of insidiousness is very likely to be higher than that of Li Kai. Did he not expect the sensation caused after the recruitment information was sent out? It doesn't make sense. Li Xiaoqi was puzzled. At the same time, Yilin has been missing for 8 days. Molly was impatient, so she finally couldn't stand it any longer. While Yilin was away, she quietly hid and opened the brochure bag that Yilin had thrust into her hand before leaving. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 631. 3 days later. On the Apostolic Forum. There is still a lot of news about Tiankai Guild recruiting people. The heat continues unabated. Because the reputation of Tiankai Guild is really too great. Many people don't know who the president of Tiankai Guild is. They only know that the Apocalypse Guild has risen unstoppably after the version update 2.0. The world's first guild. The world's first station. The first guild in the world to have 2 locations. No matter which one of the 3 titles falls on any guild, the name of the guild will be resounding around the world, and the level of sensation will be no less than that of a server-wide announcement. It's a pity that these 3 titles all fall on the same guild. Apocalypse. Ridiculous. What guild could be so outrageous? It stands to reason. The recruitment notice circulated by Apocalypse Guild on the Apostle Forum made it very clear. There is a necessary condition to join the Apocalypse Guild. These harsh conditions are enough to dissuade many people from joining the association. That is, show off your abilities. Each apostle's abilities, areas of expertise, level, and even attributes and tendencies are all a secret. As the saying goes, know yourself and the enemy and you will be victorious in any battle. Once the ability of a certain apostle is completely exposed to the eyes of other apostles, it is easy to be targeted. Just like Yiren. Ever since he became famous after being surrounded by 4 emperors in the capital, he could be said to be a thorn in the side or a thorn in the flesh in the eyes of some people. It is precisely because Uligzin is afraid of Yilin's elusive stealth ability and the terrifying burst of output power combined with one-hit kills that when he has to sleep, he still needs to be surrounded by strong bodyguards around the bed before he can sleep peacefully. A spiritual side who is good at stealth. A spiritual person with a sinister character. The spiritual side of a man who likes to stab people in the back. The spiritual side of a man who has a dog as his follower. Among the four guilds formerly known as the Z5 Council, Liang Army, Qin Shi Minjiao Special Group and Jinyi Pavilion, there are rumors that there is a research group composed of spiritual apostles who are good at various fields. Yilin's ability development trends, coping methods, etc. These teams are collectively called the 10 Special Response Team, or the Zero Team for short. These news about the anti-Zero group were deliberately spread by Li Kai in a trumpet and wearing a vest. People who don't know why don't know how powerful it is. But people who knew some of the inside stories of the family, or had a vague knowledge of some of the upper-level power structures, scoffed at this and found it funny. Even if the parliament, which was in charge of the power of the entire country, was divided, it would still be an imperial family with rich heritage. Are you afraid of a mysterious man codenamed 10? What an international joke. Ha ha ha. Uligzin closed the forum with a dark face. These days, all kinds of comments on the forum, as well as the recruitment notice posted in the hot search position, were like slaps slapped on his face, making a snapping sound, which made his face not hurt but his heart hurt. To Yuren's Special Response Team. Very ridiculous name. But Yuli couldn't help but laugh. Because this thing is true. There is indeed a special team in their Liang army to study Yilin. Hummed. How could such a shameful thing be leaked out? We have a traitor. Uligzin gritted his teeth and came to the working place of the Duilan group. A group of staff members dressed in researcher uniforms hurriedly wandered around the room. Various clips and data were played on every screen in the room. On the screen, fragmentary images of a person were played over and over again. That is the precious image data left behind by the special group. It's a pity that the original video data from the Hating City incident were destroyed inexplicably. Otherwise, Uligzin would only have more information now, not less than now. Laoju, have you come to any new conclusions in the team recently? After Uligzin stepped into the room, his angry expression calmed down, and his face changed so quickly that one had to sigh. He was indeed one of the men who once stood at the pinnacle of power. With all due respect, I am inexperienced. It is impossible to analyze a person's attributes and skills based on these image data alone, a middle-aged man with a tired expression weakly said to Uligzin. If Yilin was here, he might still have some impression of this person. He was actually one of the last members to survive when he followed Yilin and Molly to explore the no man's land around the Tower of Death. Before the collapse of order, Zhu Xiuyuan was once a national first-level key protected talent. Waste. Uligzin said two words coldly. Zhu Xiuyuan's expression was startled. He never expected that Uligzin's words were so direct. But he didn't dare to refute. Because he knows it. He has known it since he survived the trial of preparing to be an apostle. From that day on, he was no longer a nationally protected talent, and his life became as humble as an ant, not worth mentioning. Uligzin, who was once so aloof, could even easily crush him to death without leaving a body behind. Although Uligzin's expression was calm. But he was still thinking about the traitor being exposed in his heart, and he still had some anger. He looked around in the secret room. In the room, the other Duilan group did not dare to express their anger under Uligzin's gaze. Some were even so frightened that they knelt on the ground and did not dare to move. Uligzin looked around. No one looked like a traitor. He couldn't kill them all. There is not much spiritual side. After the country's lost ground is recovered and all the thorns are smoothed away, the new country will still need the contributions of these nerds. Uligzin is not stupid. These nerds are still useful. Even if they don't have any fighting ability at the moment, they still have to be raised, alive, and kept. You can't kill casually now. It's all trash. Uligzin left with a puff of his sleeves. Job fair, Uligzin walked on the road and sneered, don't you really think that if you recruit new recruits on the forum so openly, the rest of us will leave you alone, right? The surname is Yi, the surname is Li. Yes, let's see, Uligzin, will not lose easily here. Somebody come. With his heart pounding, Uli sent an emergency message to several people on the communication panel. Get up and send me a message. The confidants of the Yu family felt the anger in Uli's heart one by one and fell silent. A long time. Only then did they dare to ask cautiously. Master, what's the message? Job fair. Are they allowed to recruit people from Tiankai? Haha, naive, so naive. In the capital? No, Uligzin clenched his fists, and blazing flames flashed between his fingers, it's in Hating City. It's on their territory. Oh, this time, Lao Yu is confused. Zhao Taiqian was idle and browsing the forum. After flipping through several pages, he accidentally discovered Uli's post from Xingkai Magia in Anlok, and immediately shook his head and sighed. Confused, so confused. How can this brain be considered a power side? At this time, Zhao Yulong, who had just finished his work, walked into the room and happened to hear Zhao Taiqian sigh. Dad, what did you say? Oh, you'll know just by looking at the forum. When Zhao Yulong heard this, he knew there was some big news in the forum. Recently, he has been busy with something and has no time to pay attention to the outside world. He opened the level 6 forum with some curiosity and took a look. The 6th level forum is even more deserted than other lower level forum areas. But most of the people posting seem to be talking about the Apocalypse Guild. What are you looking at? After searching for a long time, Zhao Yulong didn't find anything else that needed special attention except for the affairs of Tiankai Guild, so he suddenly asked in confusion. Only then did Zhao Taiqian realize that Uligzin's recruitment notice was drowned by the vast apocalypse public opinion and was buried in an inconspicuous corner. He had no choice but to pinpoint the page and line for Zhao Yulong. Zhao Yulong finally found Uligzin's post in a certain corner with his father's prompts. Ah, this. That's why I said Lao Yu was confused. Zhao Yulong frowned, but, why? It's obvious that we are on the same page with him now, so why did Mr. Yu? Is it really true that the well water does not offend the river water? Zhao Taiqian did not answer Zhao Yulong's question and asked instead. Zhao Yulong's expression was slightly startled and he was stunned for a moment. This is already a world where the jungle prevails. It is more naked and undisguised than before. Xiao, I think you have thought about it a long time ago. 10 years ago, why was our world trapped in a forbidden zone? Underneath. Why did the world become a prison? And why did those 4 towers appear? Including why did the so-called God appear and issue a ridiculous version update announcement, turning the world into the nondescript place it is today? Appearance. Zhao Yulong remained silent. Zhao Taiqian's question is actually a puzzle that the special group has been puzzled over for the past 10 years. Why did the 4 towers descend, and why did existences like apostles appear out of thin air? But so far, no one can give the answer. Perhaps the only one who knows the answer is the mysterious being who calls himself God and directs everything. Zhao Taiqian smiled, took out a sharp fruit knife, carefully picked the sharp claws, and continued, whether we did it right or not, we did it right or wrong. Times have changed. Changed, completely changed. In the new era, there is no place for the weak. Even without that incident, or are you willing to witness the rise of a giant with your own eyes? Zhao Yulong sighed, thinking of the past, his expression was desolate and a bit lonely. Zhao Taiqian knew that his son was a fan of Mo Rendi. Until now, the various photo posters of Mo Renai in his room have not been torn down, and they are regarded as treasures. He didn't blame Zhao Yulong, he just sighed that he couldn't fight. A truly strong man with a tough mind only admires himself and never anyone else. That's why I said that Lao Yu is confused. Whether he is doing this to provoke, to take the opportunity to promote the Liang army, or to be angry for a while. The Apostle Forum is where we gather information. Liang the Yang army's power was completely suppressed by Tiankai Guild, and more than one head was suppressed. No matter what Lao Yu's original intention was, now that he has come to his senses, he is probably so angry that he burned the bedboard. Just because of this aura, he lost for more than a while. He took the initiative to send his face up, and he was slapped so hard that it hurt. Zhao Taiqian shook his head and sighed, or he thought about how angry Yu Lixin was at this moment, but he couldn't help but laugh. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 632. Nongpo Valley. Late spring of the first year. 1 month, do you know how I got here this month? Under the scorching sun. Yuren's sweat dropped. As summer approaches, the weather begins to get hotter, and the faint chirping of cicadas can be heard in the woods, telling the emptiness and boredom deep within. If Yulin first came here, it was somewhat utilitarian, in order to find the location of props related to crystals. After a month of farm life, Yulin's heart had completely calmed down, and she gradually realized the joy that she could not usually get from the pleasant farm life. This is a strange experience for Yulin. As the season was approaching and the last wave of crops was harvested, Yulin did not continue to sow seeds in the fields, but instead saved money and waited for Pippa to produce summer seeds to start a new season of work. Each type of seed has a maturity period, but when the seasons change, the seeds in the corresponding season will wither instantly. If the seeds do not have time to mature, it will only be a waste of money. As a new generation farmer who is very budget conscious, Yulin naturally understands the importance of proper planting. Yulin's farm is starting to get on track. On the 11th day of spring, Yulin adopted a female cat. If you are tired of raising dogs, change your taste. Meow's name is Xiao Meng. On the 12th day, a horse ran into the farm. The horse's name is Xiao Xiao. On the 17th day, Yulin saved enough wood and stones to build the first chicken coop. I stopped by Marnie's farm in the south of the island and bought my first cute chick. Yulin also named the first chick Gil No 1. Animal husbandry on the farm finally started. On the 20th day, Yulin heard that there was a mine in the north. When he rushed into the mine bravely, he found that the mine was full of slimy monsters. Yulin was in a hurry to go home to collect vegetables and was too lazy to rub bullets. So he couldn't help but shoot Grasp of Annihilation at the pile of monsters, and finally the mine collapsed. On the 25th day, the mine was finally repaired by the Adventurers Guild. Because of her guilty conscience, Yulin stopped going to the mine for the time being. On the 27th day, Yulin accidentally discovered that fishing can make money. He found the fisherman Willie on the beach and tried hard to get Yulin to give him a fishing rod. Yulin suppressed the idea of destroying Willie. In a rage, that night, taking advantage of the dark moon and high wind and the stillness of the night, she directly used telekinesis to destroy the entire river in the southern river flowing through Gugu town. All the fish were caught in one fell swoop. He kept some for cooking, but all the other fish was thrown away in the shipping box. After he stuffed nearly tons of fish into the dimensional shipping box, he finally understood why the farmer named Chienduoduo, ah no, now he is Farmer King Chienduoduo, will make money so quickly in the early stage. It turns out that fishing makes money really fast. Yulin knew it too late. On the 28th day, Yulin's ranking in the farmer rankings instantly surged to first place. Congratulations to Farmer Yulin for her total assets exceeding 100,000 G. The level is upgraded to Farmer King. Please keep up the good work. In an instant, Yulin was upgraded to the Farmer King level. He even skipped the middle level of farmer spirit. On the night of the 28th day, having discovered a new way to make money, Yulin prepared to follow the same pattern and quietly came to the river, but found that there was not a single fish in the entire river. Several fishermen in the town cursed and left carrying empty buckets, cursing which bastard had emptied the entire river of fish. Yulin felt that this matter had nothing to do with her. The departure of the fish is due to Shui's unwillingness to stay, and it is not his own pursuit. What does it have to do with Yulin? Yulin returned to the farm with peace of mind. On the 29th day, there were still no fish. Even the surrounding ponds were empty of fish. Yulin was finally convinced that the total number of fish was fixed, and he caught them all. He is truly a fishing expert. On the 30th day, gill number 1 hatched the first egg. Yulin witnessed the birth process of life with his own eyes, and strange feelings welled up in his heart. In order to commemorate this great first egg, he spent that night. This gill number 1 egg was fried into a delicious poached egg with golden brown and slightly burnt sides, and was eaten in the stomach. Time flies. The first spring ends. When I woke up, the farmland was occupied by weeds and locusts overnight. On the ranking list, Yulin ranked first, surpassing Qianduoduo with the rank of Farmer King. First year, summer. Advent. Snow Mountain Station. May 3rd. I have an idea. At a new meeting, Molly patted her chest mysteriously, and the dark circles under her eyes seemed particularly refreshing to others. Miss Mo, what can I do? Oh, this lady is saying that I have a way to get you to Hating City in the blink of an eye. Li Erpang was stunned. Wait a minute, you are obviously not. Molly, Mo Rendi, and Ling Yi failed to become apostles even after the version update. This was no secret in the station. When everyone was staring at the bloody storm on the forum all day long, secretly feeling depressed about the challenges that Hating City was about to face, they didn't expect that Molly actually brought a weird piece of good news. They all came to Snow Mountain from Hating City via Yulin's teleportation formation. All the core senior members here know one thing. Somewhere in the station, a teleportation array has been set up in advance, but currently no one can use it except Yulin. But Molly actually. Don't underestimate the learning ability of scientific researchers, you bastard. Molly clenched her pink fists. Besides, N.A. Hunden also said that the technology he brought back belongs to a kind of science. As long as it is science, it can be people can learn it. After all, I, Molly, am also a specially recruited doctorate degree. This bit of science and technology cannot trouble me. Real. When Li Ziyuki heard this, he was surprised and happy, but he still didn't believe it. Nor dare. They dare to take Yulin's ride. After all, Yulin's strength is more convincing than any guarantee. But they have never ridden in Molly's car. In addition, Molly was not an apostle at all, and her guarantee was unconvincing. Li Ziyuki even couldn't help but imagine a funny scenario on how to make other members of the Shen's army willingly sign a life and death certificate. Molly doesn't fight uncertain battles. She had experience launching a teleportation array once. She located the coordinates from the capital and used a small teleportation array to teleport Yulin and others to the coordinates of the Snow Mountain. There was a slight deviation in altitude at that time. But it doesn't matter, aren't you surviving well? The so-called tips Yulin left behind before leaving were actually 2 drawings, both of which were densely filled with criss-crossing circuits, nodes, and core locations. Based on her own experience, Molly judged that one of the drawings should be a large teleportation circuit diagram that could transport nearly 100 people from the entire Apocalypse Guild over long distances. The nodes, circuits, and core structures on the drawing are far more complex than the small one that Molly completed. Yulin has already set up the corresponding teleportation array in the Great Engineer Tower. Compared with point-to-coordinate transmission, the difficulty of point-to-point transmission is reduced by n levels in terms of accuracy control. It's actually not difficult. But Molly was nervous. What if something goes wrong? So she didn't dare to guarantee it. In the past few days, even the vacuum smelting equipment has been installed. Thanks to the efforts of Lee Zayuki and others, the number 0 unit assembly line is almost completed. It can be said that everything is ready and only needs to be officially started. But because of the job fair, Molly could only put aside the adjustments to the design drawings of Unit 0 for the time being and concentrate on studying the 2 drawings left by Yilin. Under a bright desk lamp, Molly carefully left her own mark on the teleportation array drawing using Zhuangzi's tiny fonts. Inexplicably, Molly felt her heart pounding when she saw Yilin's words and her own handwriting lined up side by side. Something was wrong with her. In order to relieve her panic, she took a sip of cold slightly salted instant coffee, but she didn't expect that under the influence of caffeine, her heartbeat would accelerate even more. Hiss, damn coffee. Molly lay on the table and complained in a low voice, completely ignoring how heavy the heart felt for Coffee, who was lying innocently. Inadvertently, she saw another drawing that she threw on the corner of the table like a paper towel. Molly just glanced at the second drawing and ignored it. But now Molly felt that the circuits and nodes on that blueprint that she didn't know what to use for were more complicated. There are a total of 364 secondary circuits, intermediate circuits, and high-level circuits, and there are countless nodes where the circuits intersect. Molly is also confused about the second drawing that Yilin deliberately left behind. What is this for? Hey, is this here? As she looked at it, Molly's eyes widened. She suddenly felt that one of the small pieces looked familiar, as if Yilin had taught her before. Hating City. These past few days have been particularly quiet for Li Kai. Suja led a group of newbies to quickly clean up the thugs left in Hating City. Those thugs were not of high level and weak in strength. Even indiscriminate firing of ordinary standard pistols can pose a life threat to them. It's just that the thugs seem to be engaged in guerrilla warfare, blowing up here and burning there. Wherever they passed, they preached such nonsense as this world is full of sin and despair, and only the dawn can provide love and salvation. Some thugs even used paint to leave graffiti with the words "Embrace the Dawn" on commercial streets, shops, shopping malls, movie theaters, and other places that used to be bustling with people. Now they seem to be too lazy to pretend, and directly named the Shugwang sect. But thanks to Suja's efforts, the number of these thugs is decreasing day by day. In addition, in order to prepare for the upcoming job fair, Li Kai blocked traffic arteries and underground lines in advance, completely closing Hating City away from the outside world. Tiankai Guild is indeed recruiting people, but with Tiankai's current strength, it cannot accommodate so many unfamiliar newcomers at once. As the job fair date approaches, there are more and more sneaky people in Hating City. Among these ghosts, there were many who really wanted to join the Apocalypse Guild, but for the sake of safety, Li Kai still used his current manpower to set up a cordon hundreds of meters outside the high wall. Of course, this cordon composed of cute new guards is useless to the high-level apostles. But enough bluffing, Li Kai just wanted order, and he didn't really want to rely on these new recruits who had just been recruited into the guard to stop the high-level apostles who were bent on causing trouble. 2 more days passed. Li Kai tiptoed away from his wife. Hiss, I overslept. Low back pain. Just when he was about to wash up briefly and go to work on the 199th floor, Suja sent a message in a hurry. Old Li. Come down quickly. There are uninvited guests. Uninvited guest? The 3 exclamation marks in Suja's message made Li happy. Li Kai-dun didn't even care about waking up his wife, put on his clothes and went straight to the high wall. A man with dyed white hair and long hair tied up casually, carrying an ancient sword, stood quietly outside the high wall of light. He closed his eyes and was surrounded by dozens of escorts in the center. Suja was confronting the visitor. Li Kai hurriedly came downstairs. When he saw clearly who the uninvited guest Suje was talking about, he frowned and expressed solemnly. That man's sword was as sharp as iron, and no one around him dared to move it. Including Suje. Come. The so-called uninvited guest. It turned out to be Yingxia. It belongs to the bright moon of the Qin dynasty and wins the summer.